a quick particle system rain picture and animation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete out our cube, and then we're going to add 2 planes. So we'll add a plane on the bottom, and I'm going to use the S key to make that larger, and then I'm going to Control C, Control V so that I can get a second one. And that way they'll be the same size. I'm going to scroll out here and just get a little bit closer there so that we can see just a little bit better what we're doing. Okay, first I'm going to start off with the top. So I'm going to right click on the top, make sure that's selected with these yellow lines around it. And I'm going to come over to my side panel and I'm going to add a particle system. Particle system is just those little stars right there. I'm going to click New, and since this is going to be rain, I'm going to add some more emissions, so I'll add 30,000. You can play with these numbers and settings and everything. Make it your own. These are just going to get you started in it, so you can try that out. After I do that, I'm going to make sure that my frames are just down to 100. I don't need a lot of frames in this animation. And then I'm going to also make sure that my end over here is at 100. Now I'm going to come down under velocity, and I have some different settings here I'm going to play with. Again, you can play with these all you would like to, but I'm going to give you some basic settings that you can do. So under velocity, we're going to change normal to -5 just to kind of help push those particles down. And then I'm going to also check into random -5. So I want to just make sure that those are looking pretty random and not all the same. Okay, now that we have those settings in place, we're going to take a look at the render settings. And we're going to uncheck emitters so that we don't actually see that field up there. And then down below, we're going to click on line because rain looks more like it's a little bit of a line. And let me move that animation forward there for you. It's more of a line than it is a dot in the sky. So we're gonna select line, and then within line, I'm gonna make this 0.1 in order to make those a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller. So we have that. Now we're going to come down to our field weights, and we will hit gravity as well to -5. So that should allow for our raindrops to fall. Okay, and then I'm going to play around with my gravity. You can set it to different numbers to make it come down faster or slower. So play around with those numbers and see which one you think looks the most like rain to you. So play with those numbers. I'm just going to go ahead and set it to 20. And it looks like it's a pretty hard rain. Okay, so now that I have that setting, we're going to move on to our next set. Okay, now we need to set up our bottom. So we're going to click on the ground, the bottom plane that we have there, and we are going to click on our physics. Now we have a few different options here. What we're going to do is click on collision because we want those raindrops to hit the bottom and then react to it. We're going to make sure that we have a couple different things set in here. We're going to set our factors to 1. So we want to give a little bit of friction and a little bit of dampening to that. After we do that, we can decide absorption would just mean, just like the word, it would mean that the ground would absorb some of those drops. So if you want to play around with that, stickiness, they stick to it. All of these you can kind of play with and see which of those you want to try. All right, now we need to set our ground so we can play around and do some different things here. Here is where you can have flexibility in how you're going to set up your ground. So you can set up a texture, you can set up what material you want to make it. If you want to download, use a picture for this or just use the color, that's completely up to you. So you can make it look like it's water, you can make it look like it's grass, whatever you want to do, whatever kind of colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a color. You can, and then maybe I want to change this around, change the way that the ground's going to look. Lots of different options here for you. So just kind of play around with those and see which one you want. Okay, and then we can play with the texture as well. So for texture, you can choose all different kinds of things. So there's, clouds, there's and just all different things you can do here. Marble, you can make it look like wood if you want to. You can take a look too if you hit both to see what it's going to look like. So you can hit try. I like to do ring noise with the ground. If you don't like the colors, just go back to your material. You can change the colors around. So just pick what you think looks the best. And then once you have what you want, you can go ahead and move on to our next stage. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the last part of our animation. Now you have a bunch of options with your rain. You can change the colors, materials, however you want to do this, it's up to you. So you can make new colors for it. So if you want to make it blue or whatever. The other option that you have if you want to is if you want to do something that looks kind of similar to snow, you can do a halo, which if you do a lighter color, it's going to look a little bit more like snow. If you want to do something like that is more volumetric, it's a little bit more fuzzy. Wire, you're really not so much going to see. That's more of sort of just a wireframe. So pick which one you want to try out. I suggest giving them all a try and rendering those animations and seeing which you prefer, if you want to do rain or snow. So just kind of pick some different things that you think look good for it. And then you can also, play around with the translucency since we were talking about rain or snow here, so you can make it, a higher translucency. You can make it emit, which would just mean that it would emit a little bit of color, and light, which would be good for if you're doing something that is like a snow. You can do mirror because raindrops, they are reflective, so you can do that. There's all kinds of different options here. So my suggestion is to try a couple options out, render it, see what it looks like. Once you have that rendered, and remember just to render, just to take a look, you just get your settings where you want them, click on the little camera, and click the render button. And that'll show you pretty much what it's going to look like whenever you render the entire animation. There's no need to render the entire animation right away. Just go ahead and render a scene. If you want to see what a different scene looks like, just move the little green bar in your timeline and it'll take you to a different spot in your animation. So once you have it where you want to get it and you're happy with your results, remember too that when you want to get back to your 3D view, just go back to 3D right here. Once you have your animation where you want it to be and you're happy with the results, then you can go ahead and click your animation option. So when you do that, just click your animation option up here, hit animation, and then you can submit that.